Good evening, everyone. My name is Sierra King, and welcome to my Leadership Interview Analysis Podcast. I had the pleasure of interviewing Kimberly Johnson. She is a service manager at Geico, and she recently had to move back down to a service manager. She was a director just last year, but due to restructuring of the company and layoffs, she had to move back down, which was a good thing because some people didn't have the opportunity to have that option. So that was one thing that stood out to me about her character, how she had to step down and come back as gracious as she did. That stood out to me, and so that kind of made me want to interview her and get to know her a little better, and kind of pick her brain a little bit about her leadership styles and her intentions. She was very candid and open. She told me about defining moments in her life, as early as sixth grade with her sister having health issues and how it impacted her by her family putting more focus on her sister and her having to understand that at an early age and not just think about self and understand her parents' point of view and how it impacted her sisters as well. There were questions raised that were not on there. Just a few because I didn't want to go over time, but just kind of follow-up questions based off of some things she said. And surprises was that I wouldn't say a surprise, but I thought it was beautiful that someone she looked up to was her father. And a lot of her leadership skills come from how her father demonstrated subconsciously or maybe consciously, but she just watched him and started to pick up his ways of doing things. And the way she described her father was he was patient, slow to anger, kind, helpful, non-judgmental, devoted, determined, and has humility. And from my times working with her, she definitely possessed those same characteristics. So for Kimberly, it is important for her to build the right relationships with her followers and her peers. She said, that's always a strength of hers, is to build the right relationships. So if candid conversations need to take place, it's not an issue, because sometimes, at earlier times in her career, having those candid conversations was a little challenging. But she realized if she have the right relationship in place, it makes those conversations much easier. So I would like to let you hear from her about her leadership style. And she actually explained this to me before I asked for the details of it. So I love the way she described it. And so I'll let you hear from her. So, how would you describe yourself as a leader?
So I would definitely say that I am a servant leader. I try to make sure that everything that I do is serving those that I've committed and obligated to assist in my role, right? So when I think about my role right now as a manager, I had this conversation this morning with the new hires that I met in Lakeland. My role is to make sure that they're successful. Now, in order to do that, that means I'm going to challenge you. That means I'm going to sometimes make you uncomfortable, but understand that it's coming from a place of me trying to help you and ensure your success, because that's my role. Mm-hmm. So I would definitely say servant leadership, because, I understand that in my role as a leader, I am here to serve others and help make them better. The other thing I would say is I will say that I feel like I'm a straightforward but empathetic leader. And what I mean by that is I strive to ensure that I have strong relationships and I built foundations based off of trust and mutual respect to be able to give me the leverage to have candid conversations when necessary. If you don't have the right rapport with someone and you try to go in and give them feedback, it's not going to be received well. So I try to ensure that I get to know and understand who that person is, who they are as a person before I just go in and start barking orders. Even if it's just like a quick, hey, this is me, this is who, I at least want to state what my purpose is.
Right.
If I'm going into a coaching conversation with an associate that I've never had the opportunity to meet before, I want to make sure they understand I'm not coming in to yell at you, and I'm never going to ask you to do something that I'm not willing to support you in. And that goes back to the servant leadership. You know, when you demonstrate and you can show with a genuine care and concern that you are actually looking out for someone's best interest, I feel like people have an innate sense to be able to tell whether or not you're BSing them or whether or not you are truly there and you truly care about trying to help see them be successful. When I think about my leadership style, I would definitely say servant leadership, straightforward but empathetic.
Well, I'm glad you was able to hear from Kimberly herself about her leadership style. She's for sure a servant leader. One thing that I recognized during our interview was her humility. Every situation and scenario we discussed, her values and different things led to her humility, her willingness to put herself aside for the betterment of others. That was a theme all the way from childhood to current. She has shown humility, and it was a pleasure to interview her and get to know her more. One thing that she left with me was at 40 years old, it's not about money, it's not about climbing the ladder, but about walking in her purpose and making sure she's positively impacting those around her. And she wants to pay it forward and continue to be selfless in all her actions and with all of those around her. So it was definitely an inspiring experience. And I enjoyed each moment of the interview. And thank you.